In the midst of the vast wilderness, where time seems to stand still, I found a forgotten veteran. This helicopter, once a source of pride in the skies, is now nothing more than a rusty shell. Covered in moss and embraced by the ancient forest's tight grip, the silence here is not emptiness, but an invitation to a miraculous journey of rebirth. My feet sank deep into the mud, my hands touching the cold metal, where life had given way to the dust of time. No modern machinery, no assistance, only these hands and perseverance. Every wild branch, every layer of mud, every piece of debris was cleaned with utmost care. It wasn't just repair, it was awakening a soul that had long been dormant. When the last dust particles were swept from the cockpit, sunlight streamed through the glass, reflecting hope, and then, the moment arrived, the roar of the engine, the blades tearing through the silent air. From the silent ruins, that iron bird had truly taken flight, soaring back into the deep blue sky where it belonged. But to bring this giant back, enthusiasm alone wasn't enough. Every step was a harsh test of nature. You can see, the original camouflage paint is now just peeling patches, giving way to the corrosion of acid and the humidity of the tropical forest. I started with the most essential parts, the drivetrain and hydraulic system, which had been invaded by tree roots like stiff tentacles. Each rusted screw clinging to the frame demanded utmost patience. There were times when I felt hopeless looking at this wreckage, but each scratch on my leather gloves was a mark of determination. I meticulously cleaned every small detail, from jammed gears to the complex wiring system that had become brittle over time.
Gotta clear these vines.
In the silent space,
yes,
there was only the sound of metal clashing and hurried breathing. There are no technical blueprints, only instinct and the belief that, beneath the dust and moss, the soul of a legend awaits to be rekindled. We are not just repairing a machine, but piecing together the forgotten memories of the sky. The battle against time is now truly beginning. The deeper I delved into the internal structure, the more I realized the devastating effects of decades of abandonment. The most crucial components of the mechanical system were now covered in layers of hardened mud and thick cobwebs. Looking at these joints, it was hard to believe they were once part of a perfectly functioning machine. But in the world of restoration, nothing is impossible if you are persistent enough. I began using manual tools to scrape away layers of rust deeply embedded in the metal surfaces. Each time a layer of red dust peeled off, hope was rekindled. My leather gloves were stained with oil, grease, and dirt, but the feeling of touching the core of a legendary machine was indescribable. I had to be extremely careful not to damage the remaining original parts, for they were key to preserving the historical value of this helicopter.
It's moving.
The control system, once the brain of the Iron Bird, is now a chaotic mess. Pressure gauges and buttons, faded with time, need to be meticulously disassembled and cleaned. This work demands absolute concentration, as even a small mistake could render any restoration effort meaningless. The wind whistling through the cracks in the hull is like an urging, don't give up. We are very close to awakening this hidden power. The restoration process now moves into the most core and intricate space, the cockpit and central control system. As you can see, after decades of abandonment, the windshield is clouded with dust and moss. My hands, in familiar leather gloves, meticulously clean every centimeter of the glass surface, as if lifting the veil of time to restore the contrast between the gradually emerging gleam of the cockpit and the old, rusty appearance of the outer frame is the clearest evidence of the dramatic transformation of this legendary machine. I continue to delve into the complex mechanical system, where heavy metal blocks lie silently under immense strength and patience. My oil-stained leather gloves diligently scrub, from the smallest crevices to the smooth surfaces of the pistons. The feeling of seeing the gleaming steel gradually revealed, ready for perfect rotations, was truly satisfying, even surrounded by mud and forest trees. The standards I set for this machine were no less than those of a professional maintenance workshop. We are awakening a legend, and every detail must be perfect. All efforts are now focused on the heart of the machine, the massive engine. After stripping away the rusty outer shell, I begin the meticulous work at the microcircuit level. Every fuel line, every decayed electrical wire is replaced with gleaming new components. Looking at the contrast between the old chassis and the newly restored machine parts, one truly appreciates the value of perseverance. My leather gloves are soaked with grease, each knot, each screw tightened, carries the hope of a crisp roar that will shatter the silence of the vast forest. I spend hours adjusting the hydraulic system, ensuring every piston operates smoothly without a single gap. Sunlight filters through the foliage, illuminating the polished metal surfaces, creating sparkling reflections that seem to fuel this journey. There is no room for error, for this is the soul of the Iron Bird. Every minute detail, from the gasket to the cooling system, is rigorously inspected to the highest standards. The feeling of watching the separate parts begin to fit together perfectly is an invaluable reward. We are so close to that magical moment. When this lifeless block of steel truly awakens and rediscovers its true self, once the machine's heart began beating, I shifted my focus to reinforcing the outer shell and perfecting the protective details. Each dented section of the fuselage, damaged by impact and oxidation, was precisely reshaped, ensuring aerodynamic efficiency for upcoming flights. Repairing the cracks in the frame wasn't just a physical repair, it was a commitment to durability against harsh conditions. Evenly spaced, like a solid armor protecting the fruits of my labor, my hands were now accustomed to the roughness of the metal and the smell of anti-rust paint. Each step was performed with the utmost concentration. In addition, the main rotor system, the component that provides the strength to support the entire steel structure, also received special attention. Dynamic balancing of each rotor blade required meticulous precision down to the millimeter. Watching the machine gradually regain its majestic form amidst the green forest canopy, I felt a strange connection between man and machine. The dust of the past had completely vanished, giving way to a new, powerful appearance ready to face challenges. We stand at the threshold of a true rebirth, where mechanical strength, the restoration process now moves into the most core and intricate space, the cockpit and central control system. As you can see, after decades of abandonment, the windshield is clouded with dust and moss. My hands, in familiar leather gloves, meticulously clean every centimeter of the glass surface, as if lifting the veil of time to restore the light to this iron bird. The contrast between the gradually emerging gleam of the cockpit and the old, rusty appearance of the outer frame is the clearest evidence of the dramatic transformation of this legendary machine. I continue to delve into the complex mechanical system, where heavy metal blocks lie silently under layers of dust. Cleaning a drive shaft or a rusted joint requires immense strength and patience. My oil-stained leather gloves diligently scrub, from the smallest crevices to the smooth surfaces of the pistons. The feeling of seeing the gleaming steel gradually revealed, ready for perfect rotations, was truly satisfying. Even surrounded by mud and forest trees, the standards I set for this machine were no less than those of a professional maintenance workshop. We are awakening a legend, and every detail. At this moment, the line between mechanic and artist seemed to blur. I paid special attention to the small but vital details on the ship's hull. The welds, cracked by time, were now being reinforced, not only to withstand the force but also to restore its original majestic form. My hands moved rhythmically between the scrap metal and restoration tools, feeling the vibrations of the metal as it gradually emerged from its centuries-long hibernation. My eyes never left the central control panels, where each new connection established was a promise of safety and power upon takeoff. Creating an exhilarating atmosphere, I realized that reviving this machine wasn't just a dry technical task, but a journey of dialogue with the past. Each layer of moss peeled away, each drop of new oil applied to the stiff joints, all aimed at a single goal: to see the propeller tear through the air and send this warrior back to the blue sky. The engine block was no longer an inanimate object. It was gradually breathing in rhythm with my perseverance. Each step of completion brought a profound sense of satisfaction, urging me to move faster towards the decisive moment. The restoration process is nearing its final stages. I'm focusing on fine-tuning the tail rotor system and the long drive shafts running along the hull. These components, already weathered by nature, have been polished and lubricated with gleaming new grease. You can feel the smooth movement of the joints now free from rust. My hands, though stained with dirt and grease, move with absolute precision, for I know that every rotation of the rotor blades in the future depends on the meticulous work of today. Sunlight filters into every nook and cranny, illuminating the fruits of my perseverance. In addition, cleaning and restoring the landing gear system is also a significant challenge. The old, cracked tires were replaced, and the hydraulic shock absorbers were recharged with new power, ready to support the enormous weight of this warrior across any terrain. I spent time checking every pipe, every electrical connector, ensuring there were no flaws, however small. From afar, the helicopter was no longer a lifeless pile of scrap metal, but had begun to exude an aura of majesty and power amidst the vast green forest. The silence of the ancient forest seemed to be compressed, awaiting a resounding explosion that would mark the return of a legend. We are standing at the finish line of the restoration process, where sweat and dedication will soon be rewarded with powerful mechanical beats.